And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David, and it is a Wednesday evening, folks, and we got a great conversation. We just had the election and so forth, and that's something we got to talk about. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio, and I'm your host, Pastor David. Wednesday night live right here at TECNTV.com, and I'm your host. Y'all come on in. This how we roll.
How we roll. You know what it is. That's just how we roll.
Wednesday night live.
How we roll.
Ain't no jive right here at TECNTV.com. And I'm your host.
Stop off summer in the wind. You look at me like that, it can be make another kid. Give my heart, I'm your rib. If I ever had to for you, I would do a bid. And I can tell that you're ready. 3, 2, 1, it's going down like confetti. Water to no one chance again. If we do it on our phone, promise that we're gonna chill.
Tonight, y'all, come on.
Ooh,
right here at TECNTV.
don't kill the vibe.
And you can catch us at
You know
Rumble,
what I like.
1057.
Tonight, ooh, it's on tonight. I'm talking on side.
Right here at TECNTV.com. This is how we roll. We get it in.
How we roll.
That's what it is.
That's just how we roll.
And if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them
How
know.
we roll.
You're listening to Pastor David on Let the Truth Be Told Radio. Come on.
It's been a minute since I've been in it. Swimming in it.
You should be living it. Keep your hands all over me.
Wednesday night live.
Never worry, keep you coming.
Ain't no
That's how
jive.
you love it. Who cares if we in public? When it comes to you,
TECNTV.com. And I'm your host.
whatever. You know why?
Wednesday night.
I'm walking
Pastor David's in the house.
I know what you like.
Right here.
Get ready. Oh yeah. It's on tonight. I'm talking on side.
So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio.
How we roll.
And this is how we roll on a Wednesday night. Y'all come on.
That's just how we roll.
This is how we roll.
How we roll.
Baby, do that to me like that.
Wednesday
I
night.
like it when you do it like
And
that.
if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio.
Baby, do
And
that to
Pastor
me
David
like
is getting it in.
No, I like it when you do it
Because
like
this is how we roll.
Maybe it's how we roll it
Like that. Sit back and get you a brew or two. A glass of wine. It's prime time. And let us put something on your mind right here.
No, I like it when you do it like that.
Wednesday night live, ain't no job. TECNTV.com. And I'm your host, Pastor David. And y'all come on in. We got a great hot conversations. We're talking about what's done happened after the elections and what happened during the election. So let us enter the truth zone. Y'all come on in.
Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
On the bridge.
No justice, no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
The Biden administration is opening new ways for thousands of people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to legally enter the country.
Is necessary by any means necessary.
Malcolm got it right.
Life and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has proven that it is either unable or unwilling.
Let's get ready to rumble! Liar, thief, corrupt.
Global, universal, and coming from the windy city of Chicago, Illinois.
Good
now
morning.
it's time to let the truth be told with David Lowery.
Come on in. It is a Wednesday night. Yeah. It's a Wednesday night, y'all. Get back with you guys from the studio. Come on. And welcome, folks, to the talk show. Let the truth be told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And man, we got to have a conversation this afternoon. I don't even see how I want to start this off. First, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yeshua, for making it possible for me to be here this day and each and every day. And to those who are listening to the show, you as well. Folks, this is a live show. I've been putting some recordings in. Like I said, I had got hurt on the football field. And so I'm good, though. But the reason why I'm saying this is because we have to be grateful that God wakes us up each and every day, that we can get out here and we can do the righteous thing that we should do. Now, to my first-time listeners, regular listeners, welcome to the show. We got to have a conversation, and I want to make sure that I open up in the right directive, because I want people to open their minds and think about what I'm finna say to you. See, this country was built on the premise of honesty and integrity. It was built on the fact of, in God we trust. Even though this country has not been perfect, it has worked. And everybody in every race that have come to this country, somehow they were able to get themselves in a position to better themselves. And so my total understanding of what's going on with the migrants is cool. But it's not cool, because if you're going to come to a new place, you need to conform to the rules of the place that you're coming to. You should not be allowed to come and set a tone for what you feel that it should be, especially if you're not a citizen. And I'm saying that because for the last couple of days, David Bergquam, who is with Real America Voices, also with Steve Bannon's War Room, have been here in Chicago, and they came to interview me on this past Monday on the 18th. And, you know, it was a great thing that happened. I had other Black men that stood with me, David Barnes, Pastor Ford, Omar, Lamar. I mean, it was a lot of brothers that came, Bob Israel. They all came in support because we wanted to show the world that there are true Black men that are still here that love the community and who will stand up and fight and do with the proper things that we have to do. So it was a blessing that the word is getting out that there are men in Chicago who have not sold out, but we do stand up and we will help our community. But we need the community to understand one thing, that we are in a spiritual and we are in a physical war for the Black community. And so with David being here, to be able to be able to understand our situation, Ben came to make sure that our message would be heard. I want to thank my Bishop Troy Gardner, who has been beneficial. I know, Bishop. I know, Bishop. I know they probably giving you all sorts of flack for the pastor you've created, but that's a good thing, because I'm just doing what you commissioned me to do, and I'm doing what God commissioned me to do, and that's go out here and protect our people and make sure that we have God-fearing people inside of these political offices and these political positions, so they would do the right thing by our people. And saying that, that's going to lead into the conversation I want to have with everybody. See, we as the grassroots people, because sometimes our voices don't get heard in the totality, they created a place for those who are outspoken and those who will speak up for those who don't have the giant voice to speak. And I'm saying it because Black people, this message is for you. And to the American people and patriots across this country, I love this country. I love all my brothers and sisters out there, no matter what color. We are all here under the flagship of the good graces of Christ. That's why we're here. And we are the body of Christ. But sometimes there's need to be special attention to parts of the body that we all have to get together and make sure that it can come aboard and be as the one, and so we can be on the same page. So I'm saying to the Black community, Dr. King and a lot of other people died for voting rights. See, politics is not a bad thing, because through politics, you can achieve the goals that you need to achieve to uplift your community, to make changes in the world for the better. Politics can be used to uplift different nationalities and put them into places where there can be an equal playing ground so that everybody can cohabitate together and survive and thrive. But see, it becomes a different kind of game. It's not the politics itself, it's the politicians who have corrupted it and changed it and made it something else that can only benefit those who are politicians or those who have money or those who have an agenda, but it is not benefiting the people. And so, Black people, we've been over here and we've been crying about equality. We've been upset because you say that it's not an equal playing field. In some instances, it is not an equal playing field. But after being here 60 years plus, and growing up through the South, and growing up through the great migration of Black people, and growing up through the civil rights era with the Malcolms, the Dr. Kings, the Fannie Lou Hamers, you name it, all the great leaders, Andrew Youngs, all the Fred Shuttleworth, all the great leaders who fought for the civil rights game, who felt that if Black people had an opportunity to vote, that we could make a difference in society. And so even though all the voting rules that they had back in the day were against Black people voting, like some places that you'd have to read a book, knowing that Black people couldn't read because they didn't let you learn how to read. Some places you'd have to take a test about arithmetic and math, knowing that you didn't know nothing about the math. These were ways to stop Black people from becoming voters. There was abolitionists who have stood with Black people who were white, because had we not had some type of white benefactors to help us, Black people never would have survived slavery. And so Black people finally, after us growing to become a nation, which we should have came, but we didn't, it was put on the table that Black people could get civil rights and voters' rights. See, because of our anxieties and our anxious to say we had voters' rights, instead of them making it a law, they made it a Voters' Rights Act. And what that means is, after a certain amount of time, the Voters' Rights Act can end if it has not been extended. And so once these things was put in place, Black people was like, oh yeah, we got the right to vote, we got the right to vote. And once we got the right to vote, we did wonderful things. We did wonderful things. We've sent so many other Black politicians to Washington. We've sent Black politicians to the state houses and Senate houses here in each state, in Congress. We made great strides. We were sending Black people all over to political positions to operate in politics. See, I'm saying, y'all go get y'all children and y'all share this around, because pastor's giving you some education today that you need. It's the difference between politics and political leaders. So after black people got all these political leaders to participate in politics, black people were able to flourish. In the black community, you saw black businesses, you service stations, grocery stores, the mom and pop grocery stores on the corner. Black people had cleaners. They had all the businesses in their community to be self-contained and to grow because the black political leaders who operated in politics used it to advance the black community. So I'm making it clear to you because I want you to understand there's a big difference. And so when those political leaders who forged forward, my generation came, who took it to the next level, who fought for the affirmative action, which is another story. But we thought that we were opening doors, and we did opening doors. We slammed doors down and say, we want equality or nothing else, nothing less. And we achieved those goals. We put more black politicians into politics than any other generation. And so the Voting Rights Act that was passed flourished the black community because the black people used their voting rights to vote in black political leaders to make a difference in their community. And so let us push this a little bit forward. See, when you're talking about honesty and integrity, when you're talking about righteousness, and that's what this country was built on, the premise, the narrative. Narratives are things that people can tell you that you might not know if it's true or not if you don't research it, but it's in your mind and make you think a certain way. So the narrative of America to the American citizens through the politicians was that America had to be honest, we had to be open, the American taxpayers had to be best citizens that we could. And everything that we did in this country had a standard that was set that would appear to the world that America had standards and morals and scruples and that God used to live here. He used to live here. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that our mindset of growing up is that we have to be honest. The IRS say, be honest on your taxes, but yet they cheat. The politicians say, y'all need to be honest in what you do and how you live. You should live this kind of way, but yet they don't live that way. And so the American people are still in their mind thinking, I have to be honest, but those who are crooks and they do things and they steal and they get away with it. And yet they tell the American people, y'all got to be honest. To the American people and patriots across this country and to God's people, that's a lie. They not being honest. Nothing has been done in a righteous way that would benefit God's people and the American people today. Nothing has been done honestly and fairly, not even in a fight. You would think everything, every sport, every idea, every organization in America, it's hard to find honesty, even in the churches. It's hard to find somebody just to do the right thing. I ain't talking about what you blue or what you red. What about doing just the right thing? What about if I hired you to open and close my door? How can I use you if you can't open and close the door? So it's not the politics, it's the politicians who are destroying the structure of politics. So now here we are, the American citizens in 2024, all the lies that have been told all the way up to this point, all the fights and the struggles, black people out here running about talking about, oh no, you don't want to destroy the Voters Act. We need to keep the Voters Act intact. We need to make sure we have our voting rights so that we don't lose what we got. Well, did you get the memo? What did you lose when you don't own nothing, black people? What did you lose? You fought like hell for all sorts of other things that didn't mean nothing, and you fought for a Voters' Rights Act, and then when it come down to opportunity to use this tool to make it better in your community, you abuse it and then complain about it. Well, you know, if they take the Voters' Rights Act from us, what we gonna do? Right, what you gonna do? You're gonna do the same thing that you did when you didn't have it. And I'm going here for a reason. See, man, some things got to be said in the right way, and I'm trying to say it in the right way. See, black people are hypocritical. We're hypocritical because we'll complain about things, and the reason why these things are being complained about is because we bring them on ourselves. Black people have been running around here complaining about some reparations. You can't get reparations if you don't know the process to get them. And nobody's going to give you nothing unless you fight for it. We still running around here complaining about how the elections is done and this and that. We don't want to lose our Voters' Rights Act, but then you don't use your voter rights. Because half the people that vote don't even understand voters' rights. They don't. They don't understand voters' rights because they going in there pulling the lever on what some slick politician who is abusing politics tell you what to do. You run in there and you vote for somebody that's been in office for 25 or 30 years and your entire community around you is dead. And everybody keeps saying, just wait till next year. Next year when it comes, we're going to do, just give us another 4 years. And here it is, they retiring off of your money and they giving them a party off the taxpayers' money. And we got 1 trillion aliens running around in our community saying, F the police, burning your house down, looking at your kids to see if they can kidnap them or sell them drugs. This is 2024, black people. And you complain about voting, you complain about the people, but the people that you put in office, you don't even take the time to understand the process. And then everybody said, give them some chicken and some watermelon and they'll vote for you the rest of their life. Just keep the programs coming and they be rich once a month. You get your little money on the first of the month, you broke at the end of the day. And you complaining to the next 30 days, 29 days to get your check again. But the problem is this. It's the system. It's not. It's you, the person. It's not the politics, but it's the politicians who have graduated from politicians to politricks. See, politicians at least follow the law of politics and make sure those people that they're representing got what they needed so that they could advance. It was after the generation of my generation that advanced so far, and the baton never was taken about the current generation who have now become slaves to the business world. But the reason I'm bringing all of this stuff up is because Tuesday night was a defining night that could tell us where we're at. Tuesday night did. See, a lot of y'all out here running around talking about y'all gonna change Chicago and you're gonna turn the state red. First of all, if you're gonna turn the state red, you better have a game plan, because you just getting on this mic talking ain't gonna make it happen. Now, I ain't gonna call no names, but don't nobody bear the blame. Mark Carter and all the rest of y'all out here flapping y'all gums, but you have to take actions. So on Tuesday night, I was afforded the opportunity to be able to go across the city of Chicago starting Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. My job was to go to polling places throughout the city of Chicago and the county to walk in and show them my credentials, and my team start looking for infractions. This team was showing up at different polling places throughout the city. And what we found out was horrible. People walking around here talking about, oh, Trump was crazy. There wasn't no cheating going on. Well, Pastor wanted to see for myself. I took my own teams out across the city of Chicago to all y'all aldermen, to all y'all state reps. While y'all was up there glorifying yourself, Pastor had teams out going into your polling places to see if you were in compliance with the polling rules that the Board of Elections set that you should follow. So from 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, we were out, we started hitting polling places, and some of the stuff that we found was totally ridiculous. You talking about black people talking about upholding and defending voting rights. And you sitting around here in the polling places, early in the morning, you're not even set up. You can't get set up. What's wrong? If the polls open at 6, you're supposed to be ready to go at 6. How is it that it's 6:30 in the morning going on 7 o'clock, we got drunk judges in 6 in the morning, drunk judges sitting in the polling places, posing as Republican judges, Democrat judges. It didn't matter. There was no morals and no scruples there. You had people in there with no name tags on. You had people in there who were supposed to, it's just so asinine that I cannot believe that we as a people who have taken voters' rights in the polling places to a level of doing nothing but being puppets on what we're told. So the first thing that we did at the first building that we went to, polling place we went to, we walked in and we gave our credentials and we started asking questions. We asked, why is there not Republican ballots out here accessible to the public? One of the judges, Democratic judges or whoever that they were, screamed, well, we were told, now listen to what I'm saying, people, we was told that if people come in, the only way that we can give out a Republican ballot is that they have to ask for it. And so I spoke up and said, did they have to ask you for a Democratic ballot? They said, no, let us get the Republican ballots out. See, this is what I'm talking about. These are the things that's going on in the polling places on how an election could be stolen. It's here at the grassroots level. It's in the polling places. So now it's 2 hours into the polling time, and now you're just finding, well, we don't have any. Well, a few minutes later, you found some. So we put them out. We walked through the voting booths. There was paraphernalia of candidates laying inside the voting booth on who the people should vote for. These are all against the election rules. And so I started talking to the judges and we started taking names. We started taking names down of the people that were supposed to be judges. This was early in the morning. We finding all these infractions. So as the lady came in to vote, by the time she got through voting, something was wrong with the machine that morning. And see, what Kerry Lake them said in Arizona, what they found out was about the machine that had to be repaired and the printer that was not functioning properly. See, I saw that firsthand with my own eyes, with my own team. that the workers in there said that, well, it was about, they've been out here twice to check our machines. See, these machines are being tampered with. They can be played with. And so now I understand why Donald Trump said that they're using the machines and flipping the machines, because that's exactly what they were doing. As I'm standing at one of the polling places, and we got this young lady's number. She filled out her ballot. They looked at her ballot, and then they told her, they tried to put it in the machine, it didn't take it right or whatever, and they pulled it back out. And they told us as well, something is wrong with the machine. We'll just put your ballot over here in this little box, and later on, we'll run it through. And the judge was telling this to a voter. And as I stood there and watched, the lady said, well, no. You're supposed to let me watch it go through. And then we spoke up and said, she's correct, ma'am. What's the problem? That's against the rules. You can't take her ballot and set it to the side and then tell her that you're going to run it through later. She can go ahead on. But then when we started to question these things, she tried, and all of a sudden, oh, it's working. And it went through. See, Black people, you make an ass out of yourself. Our communities are already inundated with the aliens. We do not have good leadership in the Black community. The leadership we have abandoned the Black community, and the only time they want to recognize it is when it's time to vote for them. All the Black politicians who are in place right now, who have been in office, who have not done a damn thing for the Black community, now you're pandering to Black people. You got people sitting up in the polling places, stealing ballots and hiding ballots. You got unqualified people in the polling places acting like that they have some honesty and integrity, and yet they're lying and stealing and cheating just to get in office, and your community is dying. But yet you running around talking about Fannie Lou Hamer and all the rest of the Black leaders who died for a vote for Black people, and now you manipulating the vote to stay in office to do nothing. There's something wrong with that. I'm seeing it from my own eyes. So what Donald Trump was saying is true. We had it was every place, every polling place that we went to, it was a structure. Every polling place except one. We went in, there was no Republican ballots out. There was no independent ballots out. They just had Democratic ballots. And I sit back and I watch people come in there and they almost force feed the Democratic thing into their hands to vote. I actually heard them say, we don't have any Republican ballots. These are Black people shooing other Black people and directing them toward voting for the Democratic Party. They made it seem like it was a bad word to say Trump in one of the polls. Hey, you say Trump, they lost their mind. And yet and still, even though we went to polling places, there was nobody, none of y'all precincts that was sacred. We went to polling places on the west side, on the south side, on the east side, in the south suburbs. Nobody was spared. And it was the same MO. No Republican ballots out, no judges with their names. There was nothing in place in order. We saw the machine broke down or the printer was not fixed. We saw people trying to take people ballots and put them away and vote later, push them through the machine later. These are all illegal things that happened at the polling places. Not what I heard, it's what I saw and heard with my eyes and ears. So Black people, we are disservicing ourselves. Our community is dead, it's almost dead. And yet you're cheating. You're cheating to put somebody in office that's been there, that has never done anything for anybody. And you want to talk about the lesser of two evils. Let's talk about Danny Davis and his race. Danny Davis beat the young person, but neither one of them was no good. Danny Davis abandoned the black community a long time ago. You don't see nothing being erected on the west side. He already got busted for taking second chance money, and yet he's still in Congress getting the money, and everybody getting paid except the black community. But then his opponent was a sorority sister, and they thought that they was going to come vamp Danny and take his spot, because that's what they're doing. That's where the money is going. They stealing the money. It's not getting the black people. And that's what I mean. They got into the voting system. Now they're using the voting system to get themselves in office so that they can get the money and the black community could die. But it's a shame when you start talking about having some honesty and integrity. It's a shame. There's nothing honest. And to the American people and patriots across this country, after I saw what I seen with my own eyes, I read about what happened in Arizona. I myself, we got the documentation, the times, we got everything. We got people names, we got people numbers that can back up the facts of what we're saying. They can back us up. We will be going to the election board with all these infractions because, see, this is what's going to happen in 2024. This is why the Democrats are so confident that they got all of these people in place that's going to break every damn election rule in the book to win. Yes, they are. What we did in this primary gave us the blueprint of all the areas that they're going to use to steal an election, just like they did in 2020. I can unequivocally say it. And I wish y'all come sue me. Come tell me I'm a lie. The number 708-663-5262. Come tell me I'm a lie. Tell me you gonna sue me. Tell me you gonna break me. And I'll tell you the facts. This is ridiculous. They're cheating already, just in the primaries. So we can know this for sure. Then when it comes to November, they have a plan. They've had a plan since Joe first took office for the second term. A go-to plan. We're the only ones that didn't have a plan. The American people didn't have a plan because we didn't realize what was happening till COVID started. And oh, by the way, they're looking for another COVID emergency before the election. But I'm saying that this is because all of these things that we saw yesterday was structured. It was so structured that by the time that we made our surprise visits throughout Chicago on the east side, by the time we got to the west side, I guess everybody was getting the gist that there was a team out here conducting and making sure that people was following the election board rules. We had our rule books, we was walking in. There was so many infractions, people eating off the table where the ballots was done. I mean, it was so many infractions that I don't even know how the polling places were functioning. They were not functioning. It was just being ran like a flop house. Anybody come in, some of the people weren't even giving IDs. They weren't giving, and I mean, and the people that was operating the polling places acted like we was wrong for asking them. They was like, why y'all asking us these questions and y'all showing us this book that we supposed to be following? Why are you doing this? You know, you're not supposed to follow the rules. We're supposed to break the rules to win. Everybody should just be here for the Democrats. That's why we don't have no Republican ballots. That's why we don't have independent ballots, because this is all about the Democrats. It wasn't about the fact that a fair election. That's what it should have been about. There was very few poll workers that we saw throughout the whole city, throughout the whole day. It was just a couple of them who felt the compassion and who felt guilty because of all the infractions that was going on around them. They knew that they was wrong. I even had one young man tell me, he said, after we read the rules to him, he said, well, you know, I didn't know that. Am I in trouble? See, so there is a set structure of wrongdoing that the Democratic Party is having. The judges, the poll watchers, they're doing all of these things wrong, and the children are picking up on it, and they're picking up the bad habits. And yes, our elections are being stoled. They're being steered to whatever candidate who has the most money, who can lie the best and tell you the stories about what they're going to do. And when they get into office, they do nothing. And so during the time of the day, man, I mean, I have never, ever heard of a moving polling place. See, folks, we're preparing a report for the Heritage Foundation, and we will be turning our information in, and we will look for some litigations out of this, some things that's going to have to happen, because what we found was horrendous, and there's no way polling places should be open with all of this stuff going on if they're not using the rules of the Board of Elections had put forward. And so we came out to the south suburbs, and this is like not funny, and you can't make this stuff up. This is the truth. So we came out here to Harvey, Illinois. I wanted to check polling places. And so we went to the city hall where pollings were used to be. So we get to City Hall, it's not a polling place anymore. So we go inside and they say, well, the polling now is at the Gloria Taylor Foundation. And so we packed our stuff up, we went to the Gloria Taylor Foundation, and we sat there. The lady gave us the address, which was wrong. We finally found out it was back the other way. And we sat there waiting, trying to figure out where are the polling places in Harvey, Illinois? Where are the polling places? We studied trying to call City Hall to find out exactly where it's at. And by chance, there was a lady, I guess, driving through and saw us sitting there and said, are you guys looking for the polling place? And we said, yes, ma'am. She took us to an obscure location. There was no flags out there. There was no cones to show that this was a polling place. It was the back entrance of a school. And when we got there, there was nothing in place. No Republican judges. There was nothing out but Democratic ballots out. The same thing goes is this. The Republican judges, and we're going to talk about that, but there was nothing in place, and all the bad things that was not supposed to happen at this polling place was there. But the problem is, how does the polling place move to place to place to place on election day? You know why? Because if you can't find out what a polling place is, you can't vote. But you still, these are black people, but you're still talking about fighting for voting rights, and you got them, and you throw them, and you squander them, and you misuse them, and you get nothing in return but wasted time. And so we finally found the moving polling place, and there was thousands of infractions in there. Everything was being done wrong. But at the end of the day, as we got closer to the time to wind down, we went back to it, and also let me put Dalton, Illinois in the bag. We went out to Dalton, Illinois, Tiffany Henyard. We found a polling place. And when we found the polling place, all her paraphernalia was in there, who she endorsed. There was all sorts of stuff that shouldn't have been in the range that it was. And when we walked in and asked for a Republican ballot, the judges, the Democratic judges, jumped up and started talking about, we don't have them. And when we showed our credentials, they started crying about, they told us that we should only give out Democratic ballots. They told us, so this is a concerted effort. This is a structured effort for every Democratic stronghold that they use the same process. No other ballots are for Democrats. If they ask for one, tell them you don't have one, because everybody is not going to be an integrity fraud investigator like myself. So if you're just a regular person, you ask for the Republican stuff, they tell you we ain't got one, then you don't vote. That's a vote for the Democrats. So they're using all of these things to deter black voters and to steer voters into voting for the candidates who are already in, who are doing nothing. But the people at Miss Hinyard in Dalton, Illinois, the people there under the mayor who is about to go to prison for a whole bunch of stuff and stealing, they were upset because we were saying, here the rules are. And you are not following none of the rules. As a matter of fact, in Dalton, Illinois, is where we found out that the machine had broke down twice and that the repairman came out 2 or 3 times and went inside it. See, that's what I mean by all of these. These things are all documented, what I'm saying. That's what I mean by all of these breakdown in the machines. We need to go back to hand balloting where they can be counted, because the computer stuff breaks down. The machine broke down twice in Dalton, plus they had a printer issue. The breaking down of the machine and the printer issues were prevalent throughout all these Democratic polling places in the state here, especially here in Chicago, because we went all over the city and the suburbs. So I'm saying this to black people that care so dearly about right to vote. I'm telling you, from my own eyes and observation and documentation, that the voting places are being misran. They're being used and weaponized to hate certain politicians and embrace others. And black people, look at our situation. We should be the last people in the polling places cheating for anybody. If we should be doing something, we should be doing the righteous thing, because the black community is at its lowest point. You would think that the poll workers would be in there saying, no, y'all not gonna cheat, because our community deserves better. We deserve better. But you become part of the problem. How is it? I have a question for the election board here. To the election board, how can you appoint another person that's a Democrat and you appoint them to be a Republican judge for the day? Now, I hope y'all heard me right. The election board here in Illinois, if there are no Republican judges, they can appoint a Democratic judge to become a Republican judge for the day. And I saw it with my own eyes. I saw them appoint Republican judges that when I got over to Walter Barnett's district, Walter, I'm coming to have a conversation with you. When I got to Walter Barnett district, they had a Republican judge who was laying on the table sleep, dead ass sleep. And when they found out who we were, they woke them up and said, hey, y'all, we got some people in here that y'all need to get up. Y'all wake up. They didn't have name tags on them. We would put name tags on to identify them. Then I'm like, how are you, if you're not paying, if you're sleeping, how can you pay attention to the rules that that's being broken. There's no ballots out here. There's nothing being done. You're sleeping, but you're supposed to be a Republican. You're supposed to be a Republican judge, but you're really a Democrat. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that's happening in the polls. That's what's happening in the polling places. They are cheating. They are breaking the rules. Everything that is being done. And it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse coming to the election. It is going to be worse if there is nothing put in place. And what we saw during the primaries, if they're cheating like this against each other, you can imagine what type of cheating that's going to be going on in the general election when Trump and Biden get back to this place to vote, to become president. You can imagine what is going to happen. What's going to happen is this. You're going to have ballots missing. You're going to have people being intimidated not to vote. You're not going to have ballots out there of other parties. I'm telling you, these are all the rules that are being broken, and the Board of Elections here and in Chicago are part of it. And that's why we are here with the Living and Driving While Black Foundation. That's why we went out and stayed up from sun up to sundown to the election went over, gathering information on how we can stop it. We can bring back election integrity. We can bring back the right to the vote the correct way. We have to put things in place just for the citizens. This ain't about the blue or the red. This is about integrity when it comes to voting. Just do it the right way. Don't cheat. Count the votes, and whoever wins, win. Don't throw votes away. Don't use the chips to change the votes. Don't tell people that the machine is not working and we'll put your vote through later. Run the offices with integrity. Do the right thing. And whoever wins, win. But we know that's not the case because of the agenda. We know the agenda of the Democratic Party. They want to take another 4 years to finish destroying this country because they've done a hell of a job of what they've done already. 2 wars, economy, gas going back up. Joe done got his nomination. He walking around with shoes with lead in them so he don't fall down. He walking around with a damn diaper on. He is not fit to be the commander-in-chief, nor does he give the appearance of respectability. See, the cat is out the bag now. I'm for sure, to the American people and patriots across this country, those who watch this show, I recommend that you share it because we're going to have to man the polls. They are going to cheat. I dare anybody to come up here talking about, well, Pastor, we'll sue you. Take me to court. I got the facts to prove what I'm saying. Just come take me to court. And we'll see who wins. But you ain't gonna do that because you know that I know that the politricks that is extorting politics is busted. They busted, folks. What I saw, what me and my team saw across the city of Chicago, there's no election rules being followed. Every good rule, every integrity, honesty, all of those things do not exist in the polling places in the blue states. Black people are being used. Black people are being steered to vote for certain candidates. There's nothing honest about it. So we can stop thinking that the voting system is fair and equitable. It is not. All the cheating and the lying and the stealing votes, throwing votes away. I'm still having in my mind thinking, how can the election board appoint a Democratic judge, somebody who is sworn to be a Democrat? How can you give them the authority to be a Republican judge for the day? That's the point that I'm making, because, see, the Democratic judge who was converted to be a Republican judge didn't say anything about the Republican ballots not being out there. See, when they say it on paper, they say, yeah, we had a Republican judge there who was there at the time, and they didn't say nothing. That's because you appointed that Republican judge who was a Democrat. So all the Republican judges that we saw that was there that didn't catch that there wasn't no ballots out, they didn't catch or take time that the machine broke down and the printer was out. They didn't catch or take time of all the other judges who came in drunk. The Republican judges who was Democrat for real didn't report, didn't have anything in writing, no documentation of all the infractions that they saw, and they had no intention to do it because they were not Republicans. They were Democratic judge appointed to be a Republican judge for the day. So the polling places throughout the major cities, there's nothing correct that's being done. And that's why Trump said it, and he was right. 100%, unequivocally, absolutely right. That this cheating occurred with the fraternities and the sorority brothers and sisters. This cheating occurred with the fact of these old, stupid House Negro type Democrats who always crying about the historical value of voting, and yet you're cheating. What value does it have if it's not ran properly? What value does voting have if you're cheating to get certain people in? So the voting system has no value as long as you cheat. And that's what's happening. Trump was right. I had to see for myself. I want to thank the Heritage Foundation for contacting us here at the Living and Driving While Black Foundation and giving us an opportunity to go out and investigate and look at what's actually happening in the Black community. And what we found is just totally horrendous. It's horrendous. It really is. So we'll be following up on that. And I'm asking folks coming up for the general election, if things go right, I will be looking for people. And to the Republican Party, see, let me say this about the Republican Party. The Republican Party that have neglected the Black community, you have sat back on your ass and you have done nothing. And now that you see the urgency, of having grassroots people in place that can actually make things happen. To the Republicans here in the state of Illinois, you know who you are. I ain't gonna call your name. You know who you are. You've wasted years of time you didn't even try to build a relationship with the Black community. And yet now here you are pandering to Black people, still trying to hold control. But I'm saying to you, just like I spoke with Ben Bergquam today, we're looking to meet with Laura Trump. Black people are not going to become Republicans nor vote for them if there are not true Black people in place that's in the leadership. Let me say it again. If you expect for Black people to deal with Republicans, there has to be a level of trust recreated. And if the Republican Party does not put honorable and respectable Black people in place in the Black community, better yet, we don't even have to do that. We ain't got the Republicans ain't got to put us nowhere. Black people, we need to get our own. We need to quit worrying about these parties. We need to create our own party, put our own money into our own schools, take care of our own community. Get all of these Arabs and everybody out, the Chinese, get them to hair the hell out of our community. We need to be self-sufficient. Those are the things we need to do to rise up out of this dirt, just like a rose coming out the concrete. It's called unity. We need to put our pride aside, our athletes, doctors and lawyers. The community is going to die. We don't need to keep waiting for somebody to give us a handout. We spend more money than everybody put together, and yet we own nothing. I get tired of saying it over and over again. If we take care of ourselves, we reinvest into ourselves, we do the things that we need to do to rebuild our family structure. We get all these parasites out. The Planned Parenthood, they got to go. All the liquor stores, all the churches on the corners, but no economic development. Those things got to go. The Arabs in every store got to go. That's what the Black community need to do. We need to become self-sufficient. And we got to stop thinking that somebody's going to save us. None of them is going to save us, but ourselves and God. And in saying that, folks, I'm serious. It's really, really, really heartfelt, the fact that what I saw over the last night, I was up late. I was making sure that I saw what I saw, and I seen what I saw, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Because the narrative is America, land of the free and home of the brave and the slaves, that there is some honesty. These are my last words. I want to thank the Living and Driving While Black Foundation for funding us with what we do in here. And I want to thank Two Diamond CBD. I want to send a shout out to all my friends in New York, Joe the Box, and all the rest of you guys out there, Prophet McCarthy, Pastor Green in New York. Pastor, we're going to be getting with you. Bishop Benjamin out of Tulsa, all the Black pastors across the country. It's time for God's people to stand up, and it's time for us to take our rightful place in the world that Christ gave us. Well, he said, greater works that you should do after I'm gone, and I send the Holy Spirit. And I'm asking and I'm praying that the brothers, the body of Christ, stand up and let the Holy Spirit lead you and guide you to do righteous things, because the kingdom of God is at hand. These are my last words, folks. For this election coming up in 2024, we're going to move forward. I'm hoping and praying that we can continue to work with the Heritage Foundation, where we can build a wall of righteousness, where we can place people inside these polling places and make sure that everybody does the right thing. To the Republican Party, this is your time to step up, get into the Black community, get involved with Black politicians or Black political leaders who are going to do the right thing in politics. We can no longer wait for the politics to do the right thing, because they're not going to do it. All they're going to do is what they've already been doing. That's nothing, and destroy this country and continue to make us think that they're doing something when they're doing nothing. God bless you, y'all. We're going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all coming on in.
Just trying to catch a vibe, CC got you fascinated.
And it was a Wednesday night. It was a great time. This is how we roll.
That's just how we roll.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Share it around. A special shout out going to all my brothers of the struggle. GDs, DDs, Vice Lord, Free Hoover, all the Stones, the Big Wee, David Boxdale, Larry Hoover.
Stop off summer in the wind. You look at me like that, it can be make another kid.
Wednesday Night Live.
I'm your rib. If I
Thank
ever
y'all.
had to for you, I would
God bless America.
And I can tell that you're ready.
It's time that we make America great again. God bless you.
Water 10 to 1 shots again.
Enjoy your Wednesday.
On the phone, promise that we're gonna chill. Don't kill the vibe. You know what I like. Daddy, it's on tonight. I'm talking on sight. That's just how we roll. You know what it is. How we roll. You know what it is. Like that. That's just how we roll. Oh, yeah. How we roll.
know what it is. Like that, crazy. It's been a minute since I've been in it, swimming in it.
You should be living in it. Keep your hands all over me and
never worry. Keep you coming, that's how you love it. Who cares if we in public? When it comes to you, I'm with whatever. You know I won't kill you right. I know what you like. Get ready. Ooh, yeah. It's on tonight. I'm talking on side.
that's just how we roll.
How we, that's
How we roll.
Just like that.
That's just how we roll.
Oh, yeah. It's
How we roll.
You know what it is.
Yeah, baby, do that to me like that.
Like that.
No, I like it when you do it like that. Baby, yeah, that's how we do it like that. Baby, yeah, that's
You
how
can
we
catch
do
the
it like
rerun
that.
on rumble.com.
Do that to me.
David
like
Lowe
that.
1057.
No, I like it when you do it like
that.
LinkedIn,
Baby,
David
that's how we
Lowery.
do it like
At David Lowery Jr. 1. Let the truth be told. Let the truth be told.
No, I like it when you do it like
It'll move your soul.
Baby, yeah, that's how we do it like that.
Baby, yeah, that's how we roll it like that.
Do that to me like that.
You know I like it when you do it like that. Baby, yeah, that's how we roll it like that.
Enjoy your Wednesday. God bless you.
That.